$1,000 stack of plastic drench jugs on one side, anemic sheep, labor spent, and microscopic vampires that just won't die. On the other, a blue-tinged pasture, a vibrant flock, and a so-called weed quietly collapsing worm populations for a fraction of the cost. Why are farmers locked in a losing chemical arms race, burning $5,000 a year, when research now shows that chicory's hidden chemistry outmaneuvers both parasites and pharmaceutical resistance? The answer turns on a cartel's business model and a super forage the industry cannot patent. The real question, who stands to lose if producers break free? Every commercial livestock producer knows the numbers, but few see the leak until it is too late. On paper, a flock of 300 ewes should deliver steady profit. In reality, something else is feeding first. Haemonchus contortus, the barber's pole worm, drains blood from nearly 4 out of every 10 sheep worldwide, 37% confirmed across 64 studies. The cost is not just in lost lives, it is in the slow bleed of daily gains. Each infected animal loses an average of 0.15 kilograms per day, a silent siphon that turns robust lambs into pale, unthrifty stragglers. Milk yield drops, lambing rates fall, and the death toll climbs, especially in seasons when the parasite eggs hatch by the thousands and ride the dew up every blade of grass. The invisible cost shows up in the paperwork. A single farm, mid-scale, stacks up $5,000 worth of invoices each year. Drench bottles, labor, vet calls, and lost market days during mandatory withdrawal periods. That is before counting the lambs that never reach sale weight or the ewes that fade out before their time. The math is relentless. Less meat, less milk, more spent on drugs that work a little less with every season. For many, the chemical treadmill feels like the only option, but the worm's shadow only grows longer. The real cost is not just the money, it is the sense that no matter how hard you fight, the parasite always finds a way to take its cut. Twice a year, the calendar dictates the routine. Early spring and late summer, every animal is rounded up, channeled through the yards, and hit with a dose of chemical drench. The process is systematic. 300 ewes pass through, one by one, each receiving a squirt of clear liquid down the throat. The math is as relentless as the parasite itself. 2 full hours of labor for a single round, repeated for every drench cycle. Each dose costs 30 cents. Small change at first glance, but multiplied across the flock, the expense stacks up, nearly $200 per treatment, just for the drug. Add in the time, the handling, and the paperwork, and the annual bill grows heavier. This is not a response to an outbreak or a crisis. It is a ritual, embedded in the rhythm of farm life, as predictable as lambing or shearing. The drench bottle sits on the shelf like a talisman, promising protection against the blood-sucking enemy in the pasture. But the schedule is not negotiable. Miss a cycle, and the worms surge back. Stick to the plan, and the outlay never stops. The system rewards obedience. Follow the 2-drench calendar, keep the invoices rolling, and hope the drugs still bite harder than the worms. Every year, the cost of staying in the game rises, but the alternative, doing nothing, means letting the microscopic vampires drain the flock unchecked. For many, the drench is both shield and a shackle, a necessary expense that buys only temporary peace. The chemical arms race has reached a breaking point. 30% of sheep flocks in the UK and Ireland now see macrocyclic lactone drenches, ivermectin and moxidectin, fail outright. The enemy is no longer the same parasite farmers fought decades ago. Routine drenching, season after season, has become a genetic sieve, filtering out the weak and leaving behind superworms. In these populations, a single mutation in the glutamate-gated chloride channel, one tiny tweak in the worm's nervous system, turns a once lethal dose into little more than a sugar water rinse. Parasitologists tracking this mutation, like Professor John Gilliard, warn that resistance is not a distant threat, but a present reality. Field trials confirm it. Lambs dosed by the book still shed eggs, and fecal egg counts barely budge. The old promise of a quick chemical fix is unraveling. With every failed treatment, the cycle accelerates. More drugs, higher doses, and still the superworms multiply, thriving in the chemical fog. The pharmaceutical treadmill keeps spinning, but the ground beneath producers is slipping away. Every year, the drug companies unveil a new promise, a stronger drench, a novel molecule, a next-generation bullet for the same old enemy. In 2009, the industry launched an entirely new class of anthelmintics called monipentel, with the fanfare of a silver bullet. The price tag soared, but the pitch was simple: outsmart the superworms, restore control, and keep the cycle spinning. Within a few seasons, field reports showed that resistance was already brewing in Australia and New Zealand, the supposed safe haven for chemical innovation. Each breakthrough turned into a brief reprieve before the next failure. The pattern is relentless. As soon as a drug class loses its edge, producers are told to rotate, combine, or double dose, driving up costs. Drug invoices climb, withdrawal periods eat into sales, and the only winners are the companies selling the next solution. Industry spokespeople warn that abandoning the treadmill risks catastrophic losses, yet their technical sheets rarely mention alternatives that cannot be patented. For producers, the treadmill is not just about fighting worms, it is about being locked into a system where the price of staying afloat rises every year, and the exit signs are hidden behind a wall of chemical labels. The search for a real off-ramp grows louder with every failed promise. A blue flash in the roadside weeds, most drivers never glance twice. But for a handful of regenerative graziers, that flash is the color of rebellion. Sicorium intybus, known to botanists as forage chicory, has spent decades miscast as little more than a stubborn wildflower or a bitter contaminant in hay. Its true power, however, is hidden in plain sight. The Puna 2 cultivar, bred not for salads but for survival, stands out in the paddock with deep-cut leaves and stalks topped by electric blue blooms. It is not the flower's beauty that matters, but its roots, thick, white taproots that plunge more than a meter into the soil, drawing up minerals and moisture that shallow-rooted grasses cannot reach. On a farm in central Otago, a grazier named Tom watches his sheep tear at chicory leaves, knowing every mouthful is more than just feed. He planted his first block after reading a single line in an old extension bulletin. Chicory may reduce worm burden in lambs. That line, half forgotten by most, became his lifeline. Today, Tom walks his fields where chicory grows in dense, knee-high stands, crowding out thistles and dandelions. The sheep are heavier, their coats brighter. What once looked like an unruly weed is now the backbone of a new kind of pasture, one that fights back against the invisible enemy while restoring the ground beneath his boots. The secret weapon is not found in a bottle or a lab, but in the taproot and the bitter leaf of a flower most farmers never thought to value. Beneath the blue haze of flower stalks, chicory's secret weapon burrows deep. It is no ordinary anchor. It drills straight down, often reaching 1.5 to 2 meters, far below the shallow grasp of ryegrass or clover. In a summer when the topsoil cracks and pastures fade to straw, chicory keeps its leaves lush, pulling water from hidden reserves that most plants never touch. But moisture is only part of the story. As the root pushes through subsoil, it scavenges minerals that livestock need but rarely get in a standard sward. Zinc comes up at 30 milligrams per kilogram of dry matter, copper at 15 milligrams per kilogram,